Brian Robb, J. King, and Sam Packard present Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable, the Boston Celtics, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. Oh yeah! Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable, the Boston Celtics, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. And a 19. Jaylen Brown, D. White, Crazy Joe. Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. With Tatum coming back. Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. Oh yeah!
Come on, don't get the next generation. Hey, guy wants to win. Don't no time.
Let's go, you motherfucking Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go. You motherfucking Celtics. Let's go.
Let's go! Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's Internet. I am Sam Jam Packard, professional sports fan, joined by the great Brian B. Robb from MassLive.com and from The Athletic, the kid, the god, the legend himself, Jay King. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Still Poddable, the greatest Celtics podcast in the world. We got a couple of free episodes a week. We also got the Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. So if you want great Celtics content from, and I was thinking about this today, 30 years of experience total or greater than covering these Boston Celtics, make sure you go to that Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. If you want the couple of free podcasts a week, you can also find us on Apple, on Spotify, on the YouTubes. We also live stream from shows on Twitter at StillPoddable. Appreciate everyone joining us. Today's episode.
Before we get into that, why do you look like you do today? Why do you have that mustache?
I don't know what you're referring to. This is just kind of a normal look. Before I get into that, I do have to explain that we are part of the CLNS podcast network, and today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. America's what is number one daily fantasy sports app. Download Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The real answer is I went to a Halloween party last night and I didn't have a costume, and so I just did something goofy with my facial hair and then wore.
Were you Hulk Hogan?
No, I just wore a full Brighton Hove and Albion uniform with and so that was my outfit.
You were just a Brighton fan?
I was a full kit wanker with a dumb mustache. I think it's a pretty obvious costume. Most people went as that this year.
How'd it go over?
Not great. I gotta be not a lot of rave reviews, but the problem is it just looks so natural that not a lot of people realized it was a costume. People just thought this was my natural facial hair. We are here to talk about the Boston Celtics. This is our annual 8.5% of the season has gone by. Check in with the Celtics. We do this every single year. They are now 3-4 after a solid victory against the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday night, and then an absolute drubbing. I think Peyton Pritchard put it best. What do you say after the game, Jay?
That they got popped and that there was nothing. He's not sure there was anything to take from it, and that they got punked. Pop punked.
They got a pop punking against the ginormous Houston Rockets. So they now sit at 3-4. They were in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating about 3 days ago. I believe they've fallen out of that. And because it is 8.5% of the season as done, we're going to do a little Poddable 6-pack where we draft the most important developments, things that we are noticing, big noticing hours here on Still Poddable. And we're going to draft the 6 most important things that we think have emerged in this season so far after 7 games. B-Rob, I'm going to give you the first pick of this Poddable 6-pack.
Man, this is an easy pick. Josh Minott's a guy. I think that he's a guy. He's a starter for this team. And dare you say a long-term important piece in this team? That remains to be seen, but certainly has the potential to become one. So there is a lot of wings entering this year. We're not sure who is going to kind of fall out of the pack here to emerge. We've seen some flashes from a couple of them, but Minott's the guy from a defensive standpoint, from just a length and athleticism standpoint that checks off most of the boxes, has made a meaningful difference in the starting five. Obviously, the Rockets game, no one really had it in that one, but 3-0 before that. And I don't know, to see someone you envision when Jason Tatum comes back to the lineup of being able to be part of the rotation, playing either behind him or alongside him at points. Minott is that guy, and he's under contract through next season now. So the fact that they kind of see this through 2 weeks of the season, I think that's a pretty big deal right now out of this 3-4 start.
And he shot the ball okay. He hasn't yet started to knock down above the break threes with any consistency, but from the corner, he's been pretty good. Joe's lack of patience with him and with some of the other guys on the roster has been really, really interesting. Minott threw a bad behind the back pass.
Well, let's not say it was bad. It did go into the Celtics bench, but it was very cool that he attempted it.
It was a bad decision, poorly executed, did not have any juice on it, like just no gas pass around him. And Joe just yanked him immediately, just took him out, like instantly turned to the bench and was like, get him out of there. And so he's kind of trying to drive those guys into removing some of the mistakes from their game. I think we'll still see some Minott mistakes, but he's doing a lot of things that they just can use. And one of the things that's been impressive about him is not just that he does get the rebounds and the steals and the blocks. When he gets those things, he's been very good at converting from defense to offense and then going in transition and making something happen the other way. I think that's a really good sign that he's already pushing it in transition. He's finishing dunks and alley-oops in transition. He's made some nice passes in transition. And so it's not just like the defense and the energy, it's then he's making things happen after that. So all good stuff from Minott. Mostly good stuff from Minott. He's done a lot, and then it's kind of his presence in the starting lineup next to Nemi has sort of solidified their rebounding, at least to some extent, where they haven't gotten absolutely pulverized the last few games.
I was actually talking about this with close personal friend Brad Stevens on Friday night before the Sixers game. And, we were talking, I was trying to lobby for Minott's extension. And Brad said maybe it was a little hasty. He's still got 77, 76 games now to go. But it talked about just consistency. Like the hardest thing for young players is they can show flashes, but to like show it and be consistent every single night is I think the most difficult part of development. And we saw that with Minott just over this past week. Like he did not have a great game in Philadelphia, certainly in terms of scoring. And he's still going to make those mistakes and Joe's still going to punish him. But like you, Jay, I've been impressed with his just skills on offense that like you mentioned in transition, but I think he just did a nice play in the half court against the Rockets last night. Just like a dump off pass to Nemi off a drive that led to a like Nemi dunk. Like he's not a guy who's like you're afraid to have the ball swing to him in the corner. Like he will take that and kind of make that quick decision and attack the rim. It's not always going to get the best results, but he's not scared to have the ball in his hands. And so I like that from a development standpoint. Yeah, he's been fantastic. And I think they should try and get him on a Peyton Pritchard deal as fast as possible. Like when can they actually offer him an extension? When is this actually allowed? Because he's got the team option next year, which is kind of wild. But in this modern NBA with the second apron, you need to sign guys to dirt cheap contracts. So if they can get him for like the Peyton Pritchard deal, like 4 years, $30 million, and get like a 4% of the salary cap option next to Tatum and Brown, that's exactly the type of like salary you need if you're going to want to compete for championships starting in, I guess, 2026.
Yeah, we're efforting to see when the earliest extension has been signed for any player in the NBA back from last time, but that is certainly, I'm not sure again when legally they can do that, but maybe they'll just call up his agent, slide them, put just a piece of paper with the Peyton Pritchard deal on it, and see if they go for it. I assume. I mean, Minott's playing on a 2-year minimum deal here right now, so any meaningful long-term money, I don't think it's going to be a tough negotiation.
It would be a 400% raise. Like, of course he's going to take it.
But it's early. It's early. We got to see what it looks like in a month.
All right, Jay, I'll give you the next pick.
Hugo. I would actually argue that Hugo looking like a player that they can use right away is more important than what Josh Minott has done, because Hugo's 19. He's got, his rookie contract, all of it still to come. And he's already capable of playing and guarding an opponent's best player. Maybe not Kevin Durant, who kind of had Hugo in hell during a few minutes of that matchup last night. We're recording this on Sunday afternoon. But other than that, like, he's given Tyrese Maxey some problems. He's guarded Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson. Like, they've put him on the opposing team's best player. And for the most part, he's handled that really well. He's also just a pure and utter competitive maniac. Like, there are few people who hustle with the craziness that he does. He saw Quentin Grimes going for an easy dunk and said, fuck that, I'm going to get that, and there will be no easy dunk on my watch. And he ran like 120 miles an hour going back, and then had to run into, like, he fell into the basket stanchion, almost hurt himself. He sort of has like early Aaron Nesmith vibes, where, Marcus Smart used to call him Crash, because you wouldn't know whether he was going to hurt himself, hurt another teammate, hurt someone on the other team. Like, but everyone was just in physical danger when he was around. And Hugo has some of that to him, but he's also just like, he's knocking down some shots. He doesn't look like he's ruffled by things. Even, like, I loved that in the fourth quarter last night, he caught the ball on the wing, drove to the lane, and did like a kick out pass, and was still trying to run good offense while they were down like 30 points in a blowout. He just knows how to play winning basketball, and that matters a whole lot to get that out of a 19-year-old. I don't know what he'll become offensively. Obviously, there's still stuff he needs to figure out. He was literally riding the exercise bike at the end of a timeout. They got hit with a delay of game warning because he was riding the exercise bike when he was supposed to be on the basketball court. Like, definitely needs to figure some stuff out. But
that's
you can
coaching. That's bad coaching, if you ask me.
You can live with all that stuff because he's so young and so energetic, and is already the type of guy who ignites a team. Like that, you can't teach that. You can't teach that type of motor, and he just has it. He walked into the NBA with it, and they're going to give him opportunities to guard the other team's best players. Sometimes they won't play him at all, but to get somebody of that mold, like, it's tough to find an athletic 6'7" wing who can guard people and wants to guard people. They have it. He's a teenager, and they have him under contract for a while. I think no matter what comes of this year for Hugo, I think there'll be a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Like, he's a player, and that's very meaningful. And when you put it together with Minott, now you can start to see the vision for when Tatum comes back, right? It's like they lost a ton of talent, but now they've got young athletic dudes who are 6'7", 6'8", and long, and going to be, disruptive, and they're going to be irritants to the opposing team, sometimes to Joe Mazzulla too. But you can see, like, those two guys, I think, will fit what the Celtics do now and down the road. And good work by Brad Stevens on both of them, it looks like, so far through 7 games.
Taking the onus off of the Celtics stars defensively long term, I think, is a very big deal in finding guys on that front, to your point, Jay. And even now, like, you look at like the Wolves start, and you're like, wow, they could have probably used Minott right now, like, just as a guy off the bench. And again, it's a difference. Like, he knew the opportunity was going to be here. That's why he came to Boston. That's why it pays off to be able to open up the roster like that. So you do appeal to younger guys that haven't had a crack like Minott. But without a doubt, if they can You just need one or two of these guys to hit, and it looks like it's a pretty strong step forward in that direction, Packard, through 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's playing 14, 15 minutes a game. It's not like he's but he's only 19, and this is like that's the whole point of like this, I guess, this off year for the Celtics is like trying to find some guys, like Jay said, who can be athletic and can be on that team and can support Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White moving forward. And so anything that he can give you, he's knocking down some threes, and he's not afraid to take the open three. So I think that's a huge step forward, and he's just gonna continue to make mistakes. Joe is going to continue to pull him after small mistakes. Going to continue to pull Minott, but I think that's how they get better, and it's just going to be fun because they play a kind of an exciting brand of basketball.
Is he going to play a game in Maine this year? Period.
Hugo?
No.
Yeah. Is he?
No.
Yeah, it's like he's graduated from that, right? It's like not even now. It's like nope. Like
how pissed is Jordan Walsh right now? Like how furious. Jay and I were watching Jordan Walsh at some points during the Sixers game, and he just looked upset that he wasn't having the most fun out there riding the bench. And I can't blame him. It's just got like I'm assuming Jordan Walsh thought like this was my year to get some burn. This was my year where I was going to compete for minutes, and it just hasn't happened to him 8.5% of the way into this season.
He's going to need to beat out some guys. There's a lot of competition now, and I would put Baylor Shireman into that too. Baylor Shireman, they've thrown him on Donovan Mitchell. They've used him at times over Hugo.
Baylor Shireman, defensive specialist that we all saw coming. That's what we all thought his role was going to be.
I never would have guessed that they would sick him on the quickest guards in the league, but that's the role that they're using him in now, and he's actually done an okay job. Salute to him.
The ball.
I'm normally the positive guy on this podcast. I like to see things. Like to take the optimistic look. I think sports positivity makes it more fun to be a sports fan. But for my first pick, and maybe my second pick, I'm going to get negative here. Payton Pritchard is shooting 18% from three. Derek White is shooting 25% from three. That's wild. And it's wild that they've won 3 games. And it's actually, and here's the positive spin. They've actually done a very good job of facilitating and like playmaking and like setting up the offense. But both of them have just been abysmal from beyond the arc.
I was going to say, why is that a negative that they're shooting so poorly?
Well,
I think it's a positive.
Well, sure. Yeah, that was
at this point, it's a positive. They're 3 and 4. Those guys are playing winning basketball regardless of whether the shots are falling. And those shots are going to fall. Derek White and Payton Pritchard are not going to miss shots forever. They are great shooters.
Do you guys have any problem with the Derek White, I guess, shot selection? He's taking more threes than he ever has in his career, and I feel like some of them might be ill-advised. Now, you don't want to like really put the you don't want to like stifle or say he shouldn't take threes, because that is like the Joe Mazzulla offense. It's just like to take threes if you're open, and Derek White is obviously one of the team's best three-point shooters. But I feel like there's some moments when Derek White has been in the game, especially when Derek White is not on the court with Jaylen Brown or Payton Pritchard, where he's just launching some ones maybe earlier in the shot clock than I would like, maybe some contested ones. He's taking, and this is complete eye test, and this is just based on the assumption that Jason Tatum's no longer in their court, but it feels like he's just taking more slightly contested shots. And I just I'm nitpicking after 7 games, but I don't know if the shot selection has been great, and I don't know if that's contributing to the low percentage at this point.
So I think the roster changes may be impacting White as much as anybody else, because some of the ways that he got open was just running action with Jason Tatum, and they would put White into the action to get a smaller defender on Tatum. It would create advantages for White because the defense was so wrapped up in making sure that they didn't allow Tatum to get anything easy, that Derek White would find a crease and use that crease to his advantage. Or sometimes it would be a pick and roll with Kristaps Porzingis, where it was similar philosophy. They're going to be worried about Kristaps, or they're going to switch it, get a big man on Derek, get a small guy on Kristaps, whatever. Like, those were 2 good combinations that the Celtics used to free up Derek White. now they don't have as much of that. Jaylen Brown has never been used as a screener as much as Jason Tatum was. And I think that's a part of their game, the team's game, Jaylen's game, everything that they kind of need to develop to help get Derek White untracked. I think they'll probably go to more of that as the season goes on. But I have no doubts that Derek White will figure it out. It's an adjustment because so much is new, and like I said, like it's not as easy to find the advantages as it used to be. But he'll be fine. I'm cool with him hunting more looks. I think a lot of his looks have been pretty decent. Definitely a few very tough ones, but he's worked very hard to add that versatility to his shot, and eventually a lot of those will go down.
Yeah, if you're going to fully enable Derek White this year, you can't let 6 bad shooting games be like, all right, reeled in. Like, no, we want you to. This is the season to experiment, to explore, to push it to the max for him, because obviously after this year he's going to be in a different spot. But as far as the shot selection pack, I feel like it is like multiple times on press row last night talking to like Suichi saying to me, like, how does Derek White score in this lineup? Like when it's just him in the bench unit, like it's pretty much all on him to make something happen. And I mean, when you're facing a good defense like the Rockets, or playing teams are keening on him more than ever, yeah, it's going to lead to bad shots because you're relying on Hugo or like Garza or something like that. Like those guys aren't going to be able to create, so it's going to come down to him most of the time. So certainly some work to be done on that front, but I blame the roster more than White on those shots.
I think the thing that I think Derek White could just try to get toward the rim or to the paint more. I think Peyton Pritchard, he's the new 2-point daddy. I mean, everyone knows that Sam Hauser was last year's 2-point daddy, and before that it was Gordon Hayward. Pritchard is just a great ability playing off 2 feet to get those.
Was Sam Hauser the most underwhelming 2-point daddy of all time?
Some might say that. Some might say that everyone was expecting him to get, I think, like 55 2-point field goals last year. Everyone, and he was disappointing to everyone who believed in him. But Derek White, I think, and he's doing, just looking at, he's taking just way more shots this year, but he's basically doubled up his 2-point attempts from he was last year. And again, very, very small sample size. And so maybe that's just part of it, is that the ball's going to be in his hand more. But you're right, Jay. It's ultimately a positive that they've been able to play so well. And I think you tweeted this out a couple days ago, just like how good the offensive numbers are when Peyton Pritchard and Derek White are on the court, despite this bad shooting.
Those numbers aren't as good after the Houston game.
None of the numbers the Celtics have are as good after they got pop punked.
It's still early season where one game can swing things mightily, and those numbers have fallen off. There's still a plus with both those guys on the court, but it's far less than it was before.
Nice bounce to the Pelicans blowout. I feel like now the numbers are kind of where they should be probably across the board, but we'll get a few more games in the books to see where they settle.
That was. Let's talk about that game for a second while we're on the topic. That was like the most. First of all, it was a schedule loss. Celtics were in their fifth game in 7 nights, second leg of a back-to-back after traveling back from Philadelphia late the night before. The Rockets were off since Wednesday. Like, it was just totally, you look at the schedule and you knew that was going to be an extremely difficult game for the Celtics. But it was also the most physically overmatched I've seen the Celtics be in a long time. Like, just, they were engulfed at the rim. They spent the third quarter fouling time after time after time, partly because they were late on rotations, but partly because they just weren't as strong or big as the other guys. And it's just weird to see the Celtics like that. And I know a lot of people were probably frustrated at the officials. Celtics had Joe Mazzulla got a tech. Jaylen Brown got a defensive 3-second tech. Chris Boucher got a flopping tech. I didn't even know they give those anymore.
Wild.
And there were definitely some borderline calls, a series of borderline calls that went against the Celtics. But the Rockets are the most athletic team. They have some guys who just move extremely differently, and they're huge at every single position. And they just kind of wrapped up the Celtics and wouldn't let them go. And it was, even though it was a schedule loss, it was one of those games where you're like, there's levels to this, and that's just a really bad matchup. There are going to be some really bad matchups for the Celtics team. And I think no matter what, they were going to be in trouble against that type of length, that type of athleticism. Steven Adams just being a bear on the glass. They're just susceptible in ways that they weren't before. And I think that was a very good example of it.
Is that the worst matchup for them, like across the league? Because they're going to struggle with size, but that is a ginormous team.
What they start 3 guys taller than anyone on the Celtics.
But they're not just enormous. Like, they're athletic as hell. Amin Thompson might be the league's most athletic player. Jabari Smith is a 6'10" fluid athlete. Like, Tari Eason is extremely mobile, rugged, 6'8", 6'9", whatever. Steven Adams, for all the talk about his strength, he can also move a little. And so, and the Celtics, like, they used to be huge. When Jason Tatum is out there, they have more athleticism, skill combination, but they are, like, Josh Minott is pretty thin. Chris Boucher, they played him extremely thin. And matchups that didn't used to be problems are just problems now. But yeah, I would say Rockets probably the worst matchup for them.
They got to get a guard. Like, they're sick as is, but you get one more piece on that team in the backcourt. Like, I think that propels them back up to the top tier contenders.
You weren't impressed by the Reed Shepherd?
I mean,
so far, he's not the answer for Houston.
JD
Davidson can't get a look.
Listen, JD got a little run, but yeah, Kevin
JD.
Durant, what, 37 years old? Time to push those chips in.
All right, before we get to the second half of the draft, I want to remind you folks that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Football action is back, and it's even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Ain't that the truth? So keep their season rolling with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. The Patriots are good again, and that's fun. And so if you want to have some fun making some picks and some projections with the Patriots, I highly recommend downloading Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So if you want to pick more on Drake May's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns, now you can. You can put them all in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is also flexibility. You can choose flex play where you get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want to go big time for the maximum payout, you can do the power play. But no matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. You know who's not right, folks? And we call that in the biz a segue. You know who was a liar all of the preseason? Joe Mazzulla. Well, let's focus on what the point of emphasis was in the preseason. What was the big story about what this Celtics team was going to be about? Do you guys remember? You guys were there. I think you covered a practice or two. What was the big thing everyone was talking about?
Pace.
What is the Celtics ranking in terms of pace right now?
They were dead last going into the Rockets game. I haven't checked since.
They are now 29th. Actually, they are better than the Rockets in terms of pace, but they are 29th in the league in pace. What was the other kind of big point of emphasis with the heading into this season? It's kind of like the new defensive energy. They were all about playing hard, aggressive defense that was going to generate turnovers. Where do you think they rank in terms of opponents' turnovers per game?
Much better than they were last year.
They're decently better. They are 13th. Not bad. But one of the main things if you're going to play super aggressive defense is they got to try to have to do that without fouling. Where do you think they rank in terms of opponents' free throws per game?
A lot worse than they used to.
They've
always been great at preventing fouls. But they've changed everything. They want to be more aggressive, and they're willing to foul a little bit more because of that.
They are 25th in the league in terms of opponents' free throws per game. They're giving up 29.6 free throws per game for the opponent. And so is Joe Mazzulla a liar? Let's focus just on the pace thing first, because I was shocked to see that they were 29th. That was the point of emphasis. It's like, we're playing fast. we're going to create turnovers. We're going to be blitzing in transition. What the hell is going on with that? Why are they still the second slowest team in the league?
Got to rebound to be able to get Brent fast. That's honestly like the first thing. And then also, if you're fouling a ton too, you can't get out and run. So I think, I don't know, Jay, it's like the byproduct. I think the intentions are there, but the reality is when you're dealing with those two factors, it's going to be tough to do it at the level you want to from a get out and go standpoint.
It does feel like they've actually played faster. They've been more aggressive on defense. Their pickup points are totally different than they were a year ago. They're pressuring up full court. They're, after a lot of opposing makes, they're running the ball up the court, trying to get into their offense a little quicker. Obviously, it hasn't had a huge impact on pace. Actually, they're like almost exactly the same possessions per game as they had last season, which is funny.
Wild.
And I think they want that to change. I don't think they want to be near the bottom of the league all season. But yeah, you can see the differences in how they are playing, how they want to play. But for whatever reason, it hasn't really shown up at the pace yet.
Are you saying I'm being a results over process guy right now?
I mean, pace in itself is a results thing. Like it's just.
Wow, you just kind of blew my brain there.
Is it not?
Yeah, I mean, statistics are the ultimate results thing. You can't really. There's no process with statistics, and so why do we even look at the analytics? It should all basically be eye test. Maybe the analytical revolution will come around so much so that we're just going to go back to the process-based eye test. Who knows? I just thought it was shocking when I heard Drew Carter on the broadcast said that these are the two slowest teams in pace, and I had to check that out. And then I just think the fouling, it's going to drive fans absolutely nuts. It's a product of playing more aggressive defense, but I thought they would also result in a little bit better turnovers. But like you said, Jay, they're much better than they were last year in terms of generating turnovers.
So right now, the Celtics are 9th in time to shot.
That's a stat I didn't even know existed.
Hold on. I'm looking at the wrong year.
Well, that's not helpful at all.
I was looking at the wrong year. They are 11th in time to shot, 11.2 seconds. So that's much better than the pace. Obviously, pace includes defense. It includes all sorts of stuff. But in actual time to shot, they're up to 11th. After a made shot, they are 13th. After a defensive rebound, they are 20th. That's probably something they want to change. And after a turnover, they are 4th in time to shot with 5.8. So they're really pushing it after turnovers. So they have made changes. It just hasn't shown up in the amount of possessions they play in a game.
What do they need to do to like foul less and generate more turnovers? Is it like if they're going to play this aggressive, but like also be small, B-Rob? It's like it feels like they're just doomed to be fouling all game if they're just going to be super aggressive.
And you just like judgment calls for a lot of that stuff. If you play smaller, then you're even more vulnerable. It's like you take a gamble, then you're toast. When they get swinging ball the end of the floor, and that's kind of we saw in the Rockets game when after corner three was out there when they did any kind of doubling. It seemed like, so yeah, it's the strategy makes sense when you look at the rosters. Like this is the only way we're going to survive. Like we can't rely on getting rebounds. We're going to foul more if we're gambling more. But yeah, you just hope that you get smarter for your decisions, and you find guys like Minott and Hugo to be able to help you kind of work this scheme more. And we'll see what it looks like in a month or two when they kind of gain a little bit more chemistry of it, hopefully.
Yeah, right. I think some of it is just like they're going to have to foul because they're not physically gifted. They're not the biggest, most athletic team. They have their two guards. Derek White is like a big size point guard, but he's playing next to Peyton Pritchard. And
Anthony Simons is coming off the bench. And he's like, not that much bigger.
Josh Minott has he's long, he's athletic, but he was matched up against Şengün. and you're going to foul Şengün sometimes when you're Josh Minott. That's just how it's going to be. They've used Jaylen Brown on Joel Embiid sometimes. Like, I just think this roster has to take more chances because of how small they are, because they're just not built the same way they used to be. And sometimes you're just going to foul.
Fair enough. That's how I play defense when I play pickup. I just foul all the time because I can't move. Jay, you are up with your second pick, the 5th pick in the Poddable 6-pack.
I feel like Packard stole a lot of picks with that last rundown. I'll just throw that out there.
I really appreciate the way that Jaylen Brown has approached this season. And it's not just the way that he's playing, because I think it's just everything. He's totally like, if you're that caliber of player and you see that much talent go out the door, and you have a coaching staff that's changing so much of what your team does, and you have Joe Mazzulla yanking guys in and out and having what everybody described as just an extremely difficult training camp, you could be like, what the hell is going on? This is not what I'm used to. This is a lot. And instead, they lose their first 3 games. You could be like, fuck, man, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I'm used to. And instead, he's just drummed on and on about patience. He's taken the right approach to everything. He was banged up with a hamstring and just kept playing. He played back-to-backs. He is doing everything to set the tone for this group, to adopt all of the new stuff, to adapt to everything that Joe Mazzulla wants. And I think everything about the way Jaylen Brown has done to approach this season should be valued by people around Boston, because they can be really difficult. And I think a lot of teams go wrong when their stars get off board and aren't bought in. And Jaylen Brown has been bought into every change. He's hyped up the young guys. He's hyped up Minott. He's hyped up Hugo Gonzalez. And no matter what has changed around him, he has been a steady presence in the locker room, on the court. He's had some turnovers, but other than that, been super efficient. He's shooting the ball extremely well.
He's shooting the shit out of the ball. He's just like the highest true shooting in his career so far.
So I just, everything about what Jaylen Brown has done to start this season is important. And I just think, on top of the player that he has done a great job of just setting the tone throughout that locker room of, we need to be different. We're going to be different. And that's okay. We're just all going to commit to it and do what Joe wants and become a totally new style of team. I think that's as important as anything else.
I mean, just like the maturity of having your whole hairline come off on OG Anunoby's jersey and then laughing about it on your live stream after the game. Like, that just shows a presence of mind. But you're right, Jay. It's like, even just his playmaking, highest usage of his career so far, but also highest assist percentage and shooting like the basketball extremely well. B-Rob, he's just like, they need his 30 points a game for a lot of these times. Like, I just don't know where the volume points are going to come in moments when Jaylen Brown is not scoring the basketball this well.
Yeah, like this is what's going to be required for this team to stay a playoff team, and he's been up to the task. He played, I think, even more impressively to like Jay's point too, like playing 5 games in 7 nights here of that hamstring situation, and just knowing, especially in that like the Pelicans game, like, I got to play this game. Like, the team needs me out there. We need a win from a confidence standpoint. So that part of it too, on top of the performance, sticks out. And a sneaky nice thing too is, like, you look at the minutes for the top guys on the roster right now. Like, Joe's not running guys in the ground here while they're playing. Like, I think Jaylen's at 31, 32 minutes.
Jaylen sat for a while for like the first 7 minutes of the fourth quarter in Philadelphia, like for a longer time. And the Celtics were able to kind of Well, they weren't great in that fourth quarter, but I kept on looking back and going, when is Jaylen coming back? Because they need something. And he made some big shots down the stretch there for them.
So for him to put up those numbers when he's not out there for 36, 37, 38, like that's big too. So yeah, it's been a lot of things have gone well for the Celtics to start the year individually, and I think Jaylen's certainly up there.
Can we just talk about Jaylen's Twitch stream for a second? I've never tuned in for a full episode, and maybe this is a generational thing, but when you do a Twitch stream, is it required to have 4 of your buddies just kind of standing in the background? Like, is that just what happens on Twitch these days? And
what are you
how do I
just,
get that job?
Sit there by yourself, Twitch?
I think that's the majority of Twitch streams is people just like sitting there by themselves talking to chat. And how do I get a famous buddy so I can just hang out in the background?
Why do we podcast with 3 people? Why do we podcast with more than 1 people? Because it's just more entertaining when you got multiple voices.
Yeah, but give them a mic. Don't like I feel like all the clips I see, it's just Jaylen Brown talking and his buddies just hanging out in the background. I just want to be a hangout in the background buddy. Like that is the goal, like a life goal of mine. I don't want to be the famous guy. I want to be the guy who's friends with the famous guy. And that's ideal for me. I don't know. I'm not a big in the Twitch universe. So if I'm wrong here, sound off in the comments, but it's just something I'm noticing here. B-Rob, you've said I took a lot of stuff. Jay took what my logical next pick here. This 6th in the Poddable 6-pack is always the toughest place. You got the first pick, but what do you got for pick number 6?
Eastern Conference. We knew it was going to be wide open. Now it's just like different level of being like totally up for grabs. Like the Celtics Rockets matchup we saw Saturday night, where you're drawing dead against the team, even with this roster on most nights. I don't think that matchup exists in the Eastern Conference right now. And you look up and down. I mean, the Bulls are 5-0. Wow, should just happen.
We all saw that coming.
We all saw that coming, obviously.
Yeah.
The Sixers, being next in the gate, but up and down the line, Cavs, yikes. Knicks are 2-3. The Magic are 3-4, and still are not better offensively, and have taken a step back defensively. Really, again, this is all small sample size stuff, but the fact that the Celtics were able to get that 3-game winning streak and keep this season afloat and miss the schedule out of the gate is just, if you want to keep that door open for Tatum later in the year, you have to have the Celtics some way factoring in to these. I think that's only going to help that possibility if it becomes possible. And the complexion of the Eastern Conference through 2 weeks is very much helping that, in my mind, at least.
East is no good.
Very bad.
East is dog shit.
I mean, does it like give them more of a hope as like that they can be a 5 seed? I mean, it's also very extremely early, but if everyone's struggling, if Chicago Bulls are the number 1 seed in the East, and then it's the Sixers and the Pistons are your top 3 seeds, I think anything can happen.
I would look at it a different way. I think at the end of the year, the Knicks and Cavs are going to be there. Like, I think the Magic will pull themselves out of this, find their defensive identity again. And then you might have new teams that weren't expected to be in that mix to be there. With Philly, with Edgecombe playing like 40 minutes a game, by the way, which is crazy for a rookie, but he's been awesome. And I will not trust the Bulls until much further notice. But
how many games do the Bulls have to win undefeated before you would become a Bulls believer? 10-0?
15.
Yeah, it'd have to be a lot. It would have to be overwhelming evidence. Otherwise,
I feel like 10-0 is overwhelming evidence. Like NBA, not a lot of 10-game winning streaks.
No,
Kobe White's not even playing.
It has to be beyond reasonable doubt.
It's just a certain fact that they are a good team. It has to be established.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same roster as last year, and I don't know, like every year is different. So maybe they found something. We'll see, I guess. I mean, look at a team like the Heat have like totally remade their offense with a lot of the same guys. But yeah, it's just no matter what, you just look at any given night in the Eastern Conference, there's no matchup the Celtics are drawing dead against, like from a personnel standpoint. And the cream will rise to the top, like the all those teams are going to be here at the end, to Jay's point, but it's like you're really not going to be afraid against any of those teams on any night in the regular season, at least. And that's a good sign if you're the Celtics, with this crew at least.
I'm going to throw out an honorable mention. Where are you fellas on the Myas Queta starting center experience? Because he's had some moments, but then it's just he's also not had some moments. Yeah. Like he's been solid.
Yeah, been pretty good. He has helped stem the defensive rebounding issues a little bit when he's played with Minott. Some of his short roll passing has been pretty good. Obviously, he's a threat at the rim that they don't really have otherwise. And yeah, he's been pretty good. Not like set the world on fire or anything, but Nimi has been a positive, and I think salute to Nimi.
Best net rating on the roster.
It's also a big development for him that Joe has other guys to get mad at now.
It's true.
Like Nimi used to be the only one who Joe would like just get furious at over mistakes, and now there's just a new crop of guys that Joe is getting furious with, and I think sometimes he just forgets to get mad at Nimi. He's like, you know what? I gotta yell at Hugo. I gotta yell at Josh Minott. And Nimi's just out there doing his thing, not getting an earful all the time anymore. Got to be nice.
Do you think Joe's just like relishing the opportunities? Like I can't really scream at Drew Holiday right now. Like I'm not going to scream at Jason Tatum, but now there's some coach him up moments where I have more status in the league than some of the guys on my roster. And so Joe is really taking up. He feels like he's more animated on the bench this year. And maybe that's just because the team is pissing him off way more, but it feels like Joe is angrier.
See, I don't think it's because the team is pissing him off. I think it's because he believes the team needs a different type of energy, and he's trying to supply that from the sidelines. He wants everybody on edge. He wants people, up and going crazy and picking people up full court and causing chaos. And to do that, he's going crazy on the sidelines. So I think it's actually a conscious decision by him to give his team the energy that he wants them to have.
I understand. Like you're not going to be going nuts at Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett on the court. I feel like those guys that are been there exude calm. Like if you want to be going after guys, pushing the pace, and just teachable moments. Like these are young guys and experienced guys. Joe Mazzulla needs to get out there and try to voice they're changing their system in a lot of ways. So he needs to explain that stuff more probably in real time.
Fair enough. It's been a fun ride. There should just be a Mazzulla cam all game that you should be able to watch on NBC Sports Boston and see what he has to say. We'll finish out this podcast with a little segment we like to call Moment of the Week. I like those I was going to say steel drum, but there's not a steel drum in that clip whatsoever. But Moment of the Week. Do you guys have any nominations for the Moment of the Week? My nomination is the utter disgust and relief on Josh Minott's face at the end of the Sixers game when Joel Embiid missed that buzzer beater. Like that was the right at the basket Jay and I were sitting at, and you could just see both of those emotions. Just he was so furious with himself, but then the relief, and then Hugo immediately running over and like bigging him up and saying like, "Don't worry, man, we won the game. We still believe in you." But that was just the thing that sticks out from the last week of Celtics basketball.
It was, yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. The Minott men have to stand up because he's been really good, but that was a hilarious reaction. And I spoke to him afterward in the locker room, and he was still like pretty upset with himself about missing the 2 free throws, even after the win.
I love this quote. It's like, I've never missed 2 free throws in my entire NBA experience. And then you mentioned in your article, Jay, is like, he's a career. He shot 48 free throws in the NBA. And I was like, yeah, man, you haven't.
Well, 43 for 48. He was shooting basically 90% from the line. 90%.
It's in my extensive career when I've gone fouled 25 times. I've never done this.
But those were probably the two biggest free throws he's taken in his NBA career.
That's true.
It was a new
And he
experience
choked.
on the road in Philly where people are kind of crazy. It's just a new experience, and that's some of the learning curve that he's going to have to go through, that the Celtics are going to have to go through because they're relying on unproven guys. But it was I asked him a question about I asked him a couple of questions about the free throws and the reaction to the teammates, and then I asked him just about, for a young team learning how to close games, and he did the air quotes. He was like, "Well, thanks to my contribution." I felt bad, like, even asking him about it. He was like, "Thanks to my contribution." That one was a little tougher than it needed to be. But he also, came up with the huge rebound after Xavier Tillman helped get the stop on Tyrese Maxey, and Celtics came up with some big stops at the end of that game, even though, it turned into a little bit of a debacle. But they're young. Like, they don't know what to get to yet. And I think it's Joe, as much as everybody else, kind of needs to learn how to, like, what plays to call, learn what lineups to go to. Anthony Simons talked about how the coaching staff has communicated with him, like, what sets do you want to run when you're out there? What do you like to do? And so they're still incorporating a lot of new things. I think, they'll get better and better about learning how this team ticks over the rest of the year. But, right now, to be 3-4, they've had a tough schedule so far. They've played, they played 5 games in the last 7 nights. The Rockets game was basically a schedule loss. So I think they're in a pretty good place right now, mindset-wise, and also just being 3-4, that you haven't set yourself back so far.
You sign up for that for a second before the season starts.
B-Rob's been saying it. He's been saying it. 3-4. 3-4 would be
3-4. 3-4. If they did it last week, I feel like we talking before the Pelicans. If they got there, the way they got there, I don't think anyone expected them to go 0-3 and then win 3 in a row. But yeah, once you got, like, pretty much, and I think you just turned the mentality after that game Saturday. Like, they knew, like, they got that win Friday night in Philly. If they lost that game Saturday night hurts a lot more. But the fact that they left it all on the court for that one, you can just, like, brush that Houston game aside and be like, listen, that was a schedule loss. We can still build on this. Not only are 3-4, we've figured some stuff out in these first 7 games that could go a long way, and now you get a little bit of a reprieve with Utah and Washington coming to down.
Any moments potentially from the Cavs game, from the Pelicans game, that will top the terror on Minott's face, or is that the running away with it?
I think that's it. I'd say unless you want to do Jaylen calling up LeBron or something like that about his hair.
Jaylen's 3 at the end of the first half of the Cleveland game.
That was pretty sick.
To end a 20-3 run. That was the other moment that I thought of, because that's probably the best stretch the Celtics have had so far. And, it came after Minott fouled like 80 feet away from the basket or whatever it was to send the Cavs to the line in the bonus with however many seconds left in the half. And then Jaylen just ends it with an insane, like, dribble move where he pulled off like 7 different moves, hit the step back, falling into the first row of the stands, got up going crazy. It was against the Cavs, one of the Eastern Conference's best teams. So that was the other candidate to me.
That is fair. You know what the true moment of the week was?
Oh, Hugo not getting on the court on time was
honorable mention.
That was epic.
That's
absolutely epic.
Good gold, silver, and bronze in terms of moments of the week here for the Boston Celtics. I was going to say the true moment of the week was the last 54 minutes of this podcasting, because we are the best Celtics podcast. We really enjoy doing this for you guys, and we appreciate everyone who listens. We're going to be doing some free shows a week, so you can find that on anywhere you get podcasts. If you want bonus content, make sure to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. There's a great chat there. Many of the Celtics fan community. We're constantly talking throughout the games. a little behind the scenes stuff. We constantly put it on the Patreon. So if you want to support us there and be a part of that community, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Otherwise, you can find our episodes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube/stillpoddable, or on X @stillpoddable. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back later this week with more episodes covering your Boston Celtics. This has been Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.